All right, we are here on a Tuesday. Got an absolutely loaded show for you today. Going to hit a little bit of everything. Got Chris Marler joining us. But before we get into that, real quickly, this Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef. I haven't really been keeping up with it because I think it's a trick to generate like PR, and it's working, obviously. Blaine, you know anything about this? I mean, I've heard both of them. I don't know who started it, but it's a great trick to run. I mean, you can't do
it's a money-making scheme.
Yeah, you can't do this in
For
any
sure.
other genre of music. I mean, you're not going to see like Creed and Nickelback start like diss tracking each other.
I don't know.
I think Kendrick started it with he came F the big three. It's just the big me, right, with that one. And then Drake clapped back, hit him with the clapback, and Kendrick's clapped back from the clapback. And Kendrick at this point, he's called Drake a pedophile. At some point, you're gonna have to either shoot each other.
Well, they said like Drake made up a fake daughter to get Kendrick to think he had a daughter, and Kendrick did like a whole like song about it. And then Drake was like, "I don't have a daughter. We just did that because we knew you were stupid enough to fall for it."
So this says the first sign of trouble came in 2013 when Lamar appeared on Big Sean's Control. Lamar called out Drake and several others, but Drake didn't take the bait. Instead, his beef with Meek Mill in 2015 consumed
That's
much
what I'm
of his
saying.
time.
Like this, it's a play. Like it's just like in sports. In sports, we have like Roger Clemens versus the Yankees. We have these like setups of and they're true rivalries. Like I don't know if Drake and Kendrick really don't like each other, but it's a play. It's a smart play. And they're running it out. It's all everybody's talking about.
This doesn't feel real to me. The beefs back in the day felt real.
Here's like, back in the day?
Back in the day.
Before social media and all that stuff?
It actually
like Tupac, Biggie?
It would actually turn into something.
Yeah.
Now you just go in the studio and make fun of each other and then go be friends.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
I mean,
Tupac, Biggie.
Like T.I. and Ludacris didn't like each other.
No.
Like nowadays, it's just like, to be honest with you, like Kendrick's background, I know he's from California, LA or whatever, but like, and Drake, I think Drake's incredibly talented, but like, I don't think Drake's a gangster. Like, I don't think either one of these guys is really gangster. Like when it comes down to it. I mean, Drake was on Degrassi. He played a kid in a wheelchair. Then all of a sudden, like you're a menace to society now.
You're so rich.
Spin him, I'm gonna get him,
You're so rich, you can be whatever you
Arizona
want.
senator.
I can't remember. Is Kendrick from Chicago?
No, Kendrick's from like Compton or something.
From Compton?
Which, I mean, again, I would tend to lean Kendrick is probably more of a gangster than Drake is, but I think Drake's music's better than
It's
Kendrick.
tough to be a gangster and your name's Aubrey.
I mean, it is. I get it, but
That's
like,
just tough.
I don't know. It's just I feel like everybody always falls for this. Like they're beefing, man. They're like Big Sean and Little Mike are like Medium Dave and Oversized Paul.
Medium Dave had bars. Medium Dave had bars.
Yeah.
Medium Dave did
Still
have bars.
does.
The Timberwolves win back-to-back games against Denver in dominating fashion. The Knicks take game one against the Pacers with a dominant fourth. And we break down the Oregon Ducks as well as the rest of the college football world with Chris Marler. I'm Jake Crain, and welcome. We're turning up on a Tuesday here on Crain and Company. Lost in most of the high-level college football talk at the end of last year was the success that Dan Lanning and Oregon had, even though they just missed the playoffs by a combined 6 points, with both losses coming against a loaded Washington team. Now, Lanning is one of the best up-and-coming stars of college football, and after corralling Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma through the transfer portal, the departure of Bo Nix has been somewhat softened, even though it still is a big loss, and the entrance into the Big Ten is going to be a lot smoother, but for a reason that really has nothing to do with skill set and more about mindset. See, Oregon is not the flashy offensive team of old only. Lanning has managed to turn them into truly a grimy, physical, nasty, and angry group that's led by the guys up front. So don't let the passing statistics fool you. They don't want to run it at you, they want to run it through you. He did to Oregon what Kyle Whittingham did to Utah. In a conference full of flash and sizzle, why not be the hammer instead? It'll set you apart. And that's the perfect recipe and archetype for a team entering the Big Ten. and why I believe Oregon will most likely face Ohio State twice, with neither one of those games technically being on the road. Now, getting Evan Stewart at wide receiver from A&M to replace some of the pieces that they've missed, including Troy Franklin, is nice. But what makes the Ducks go isn't on the outside, it's up front. Now, last year, what was supposed to be a rebuilding year on the offensive line after losing 4 starters and a position coach, turned into a group that was a finalist for the Joe Moore Award, one of the most prestigious awards in the country for an offensive line, really the only one. And the scariest part is that they're all pretty much back. So expect Oregon to be able to line up and run it against everybody that they play against. Oregon's offensive line versus Ohio State's defensive line is going to be must-see TV. You better put the women and children to bed before that one comes on. Now, as far as the defensive side of the ball, the Ducks did lose some key pieces on the interior defensive line, but they were able to pick up some solid guys through the transfer portal, and they have some young guys who've bided their time. And let's face it, Dan Lanning is going to have that defense ready to bite through a brick wall. So Duck fans shouldn't be losing any sleep over that side of the ball. Now, having said all that, it's not just the personnel, it's the persona. And it's the culture that has been cultivated in Eugene. It's one of being a bully, embracing aggression, and trying to snatch your soul while snatching the win. And with Dan the Dementor, those boys are going to be ready to play in the Big Ten because deep down, that's who they've really been this whole time. Guy who knows a little bit about the Big Ten, former Michigan quarterback to my left, David Cohn. My brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver.
Who knows a lot about the Big Ten.
Playing Crain, who knows a good amount about the Big Ten. A good amount. David, look, people will say, oh, Dan Lanning hasn't won the big game. Dan Lanning hasn't proven that he can be at the top of the college football world when it matters the most. And I get it. He hasn't won a bunch of big games or quote-unquote the big game at Oregon. But they've been building, and it feels like it's only a matter of time with this team. Because, again, no offense to Chip Kelly. I mean, they played in a national championship game, which, they did lose to Cam Newton at Auburn in 2010. That's neither here nor there. This is a totally different monster.
They have been building. They have been building. Let's just look at the facts of the situation here. 8 players drafted into the NFL from last year's Oregon team, including your quarterback, goes 12. Bo Nix, you lost your center as well, and you talked about Troy Franklin. Well, you replace Bo Nix with Dylan Gabriel, who's never thrown for under 3,000 yards in a season when he's played that entire year healthy. Just over 7,000 passing yards in 2 years at Central Florida, just under 7,000 passing yards in 2 years at Oklahoma. That's the guy who's coming in to play in an offense where Bo Nix just threw for 4,500 yards, okay? They're going to be just fine at the quarterback position. Now let's look at the conference that you're coming into. Who's been running that conference for the last 3 years? Michigan. Their head coach just went to the NFL. They lost their quarterback. They lost a lot of pieces on the offensive line. You do play them on the road, but hey, we're going to find out more about Michigan very soon when Texas comes to town in week 2. Who else has been running that conference? The Buckeyes. They're going to be as good as it gets in the country, one of the most loaded rosters, but you get them at home like you talked about. Now, what about the other schools who are coming in from the Pac-12 with you into the Big Ten? USC is losing a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who just went number 1 overall, and you don't play him in the regular season anyway. UCLA, another one of those teams. You got their starting quarterback for much of last year, and Dante Moore, to come over and transfer to your team, and their coach also went to become the OC at the Buckeyes. And then the team you lost to twice last year, Washington, their head coach takes the Alabama job. Their quarterback goes top 10 in the draft as well. I'm just looking at
And you get him at home, right?
It's just circumstantial. You do get Washington at home, last game of the season, November 30th. I'm just looking at the details and the circumstance. I mean, explain to me how Oregon isn't setting themselves up to come in and make a splash in the Big Ten right away.
I mean, I look at that schedule, and Blaine, if you don't mind bringing it up, I want to go through.
Yeah,
David hit on some superlatives. Go through the schedule. This could not line up more perfectly for Oregon in year 1 going into the Big Ten.
All right, you start off with Idaho.
Murder.
Boise State at home.
That game will be good for about 18 minutes.
At Oregon State.
That's going to be. I know it's a rivalry game.
They'll kill them.
They'll kill them. You lost your coach. You lost DJU. You lost Amy Martinez. Sorry to our friend Heartbroken Beaver, but let's play a game and look each other in the eyes and be honest. It's probably not going to be good.
And you're at UCLA.
Win.
Michigan State at home.
Win.
Ohio State at home.
See, this is the one. You can lose this one and still be fine, but you get him at home. Is this Will Howard? When you look at Ohio State's schedule, it's going to be interesting with him if he ends up, truly being the guy going on. I mean, that place is going to be nuts in Eugene. That's when I think Oregon can win, even though Ohio State's roster is absolutely loaded. Quarterback position, a couple questions.
What game is this almost slip-up game? this is what I look at when it's at Oregon. You go to Purdue.
That you got to win that one.
No,
Win.
I think it's on the road at Michigan or
on the road at Michigan or on the road at Wisconsin.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, those two. Now, hey, you brought up the Michigan point. Michigan's still going to make them. Michigan's not going to be bad. Nobody's saying Michigan's going to be bad. But if you gave me the choice and said, Jake, this year, 2024, not last year, this year in 2024, if you could get Ohio State at home and Michigan on the road, you would much rather take that over getting Michigan at home and Ohio State on the road 1,000,000 times.
I mean, Ohio State and Oregon it's highly likely both these teams will be undefeated.
I agree with that.
When they meet each other.
Well, keep going.
All right, then you have
Illinois at home.
All right, I pulled up.
David, you got to pull it up.
Yeah, on the road at Michigan. Maryland at home, on the road at Wisconsin. And then, like we said, you finish with Washington at home.
I mean, you look around the rest of the schedule with what people are returning. I got a really sneaking suspicion Oregon's going to play Ohio State twice next year. And again, with a 12-team playoff, hell, you never know. They could play 3 times.
Well, I mean, if you're one thing, you just got to worry about Dylan Gabriel's health.
That's why you got Dante Moore.
The way Dylan plays, Dylan throws his body around during the game. And he's a great athletic guy, great arm, great instincts as a quarterback. But his body, from a health standpoint, I'm worried about. And if you go back and look, and I know what they're doing right now. I mean, you have 8 guys drafted. I'm pretty sure it's a program record. What Dan's doing, he's building up front on both sides of the ball. But I go back to last year's game and against Washington, both games, and we talk about the physicality of Oregon being the difference. You got beaten physically and finessed in that game twice. So what big game has Oregon won?
That's the thing. No, they have been knocking at the door. That was what I was saying right after the open. I'm not sitting here saying that Dan Lanning is as good of a coach as Kirby Smart or that Dan Lanning has accomplished all of these accolades. But when you look at the way this team has been built and these building blocks, name a team that's going to be more pissed off outside of Oregon after the way it went down last year. And they did get big boyed by the Joe Moore award-winning offensive line of Washington. Look at the draft and what happened there. Also, you had Michael Penix. Also, you had 3 wide receivers that were NFL players. Those guys are all gone. You got a brand new coach. There's no way in hell that, and look, I've got a ton of respect for Washington. And Washington proved me wrong last year against Oregon. That one of the few times I had to kind of eat crow because Oregon didn't come through for me. So, I'm not sitting here saying that I think Oregon is going to win the national championship. But when I look at this team and I look at the schedule and all the variables and all the bouncing balls that you've got to follow to be able to get to the playoff and make a run, they have everything. It's going to come down to the interior defensive line, I think, for Oregon. And if I'm sitting here worried about a defensive position group with Dan Lanning as the head coach and the guys he's put around him on that staff defensively, I'm feeling pretty good if I'm an Oregon fan. You got Jamari Caldwell coming over from Houston. That was a second-team All-Big 12 player. You got some young guys, Ben Roberts, a couple other guys who have worked their way up, who have bided their time behind a couple guys that they lost 3, right? Three guys on the interior defensive line. But Oregon has players, I mean, even some of the freshmen they signed, you're looking at 6'3", 370, 6'2", 310. Dan Lanning isn't bringing in some Charmin ultra soft guys on the interior of that defensive line. He understands what he has to have. This Oregon team is pissed off. They're good. They have answers up front. One of the deepest teams up front on the offensive line. I mean, look at offensive lines across the country. Not many more teams are returning this amount of quality. And Oregon lost their center early in the NFL draft, but they've had a guy who's played at right guard, who's bumped over and played a little bit of center that they feel good about. And I think Dan Lanning is one of the best motivators in college football. I really think. I just think they're going to be a problem.
And a quick word on the Dylan Gabriel injury. So let's just recap this. 2019, he's a freshman. He throws for 3,600 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. As a sophomore, 3,500 yards, 32 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. 2021, he did get the injury. Up to that point, he was completing his passes at 69%. Transfers to Oklahoma after the injury, throws for 3,100 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 picks. And the next year, this past season, 3,600 yards, 30 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, completing at a 70% completion percentage. So, kind of like we said with Michael Penix Jr., guys get injured. It's a collision sport. When you do, all you can do is bounce back. I mean, and that's a 2-year sample size.
I get it, but I wouldn't say you improved at the quarterback position.
I mean, that's fair enough because Bo Nix just threw.
But I think too
45.
I know 2 teams. I know 2 teams that are extremely pissed about how it went down last year. And I probably one of Florida State, one of Georgia.
Well, Florida State, I don't think Florida State's got the Cats. DJU's going to go win a national.
But I'm saying from a piss standpoint about how it went down.
Yeah, well, we can all be pissed. Are you good enough to win a round?
But I mean, they're going to run into the same thing this year in Ohio State. You're going to run into a team with an elite offensive line, elite defensive line, elite receivers, and supposedly elite quarterback in the transfer. I'm just waiting.
And who's calling Will Howard an elite quarterback? I think Will Howard's a guy.
From what I've seen,
they're just hoping
at Kansas State.
Will Howard was going to get his ass beat out by Avery at Kansas State. That's why he left.
Would you say he wasn't elite at Kansas State?
No, he wasn't elite. He was a guy that could run the ball. He's DJU, basically. He's a guy that could run the ball pretty well. He's a big guy that struggled to make the routine throws routine, has a decent deep ball. But they're just hoping, why hasn't Will Howard been named the starting quarterback at Ohio State yet if he's so elite?
That's the big question to me. I mean, why'd you bring him
Devin Brown, who couldn't throw
why'd
up
you pay him all that money?
Why'd
you pay him all that money to come in if he's not going to play? I've watched Will Howard at Kansas State.
You think Will
Howard's a damn good football player, what I saw.
You would take Will Howard over Dylan Gabriel?
No. Who is saying that?
Well, again, so my whole point is this. Ohio. Well, you brought up Washington. Will Howard is not Michael Penix Jr. I think Ryan Day and them are just hoping to God that Will Howard can get in the car and just not crash it because he's got something so he can be a Stetson Bennett. You've got a great team around you, and then you improve and you improve and you improve and turn into something that was better than what you had before. But worst case scenario, you steer the ship. The man isn't Michael Penix. Ohio State is better around the quarterback than Oregon is. But Dylan Gabriel is better than Will Howard, and they get him at home. I think we could be in a world just like we talked about in the SEC, where maybe Ole Miss finds a way to beat Georgia in the regular season and then loses in the SEC championship game. I think you could see the same thing where Oregon finds a way to beat Ohio State at home during the regular season and then loses in the Big Ten championship game. My whole point is that if we're going to sit here and compare Ohio State and Washington to going against Oregon, I think there's some huge differences. Not anywhere else but at quarterback, but that's still a big difference. And you look at what Ohio State lost out wide with Marvin Harrison Jr., right? Some of these other guys, I know they return talent. I know Jeremiah's really good. I know Stover's really good at the tight end. But I do think there is going to be a difference.
Stover got drafted.
So I thought Stover came back.
Hey, he's gone.
Stover got drafted.
Yeah.
Really, where did he go? Where did he end up going?
I'll look it up. It's funny you mentioned Stetson Bennett's name, though, because I was just thinking that when you said Oregon didn't get better at the quarterback position, which is true, but when your quarterback gets drafted 12 overall, sometimes the best you can hope for is just not to get a lot worse. But think about all those Georgia quarterbacks that we saw throughout my youth growing up, some of the best in the country. Matt Stafford, right? DJ Shockley, David Green. Those were never the guys that took them to the mountaintop. It was Stetson Bennett who won back-to-back national championships, which was wild. So if the rest of your roster is intact, you can win a national championship.
Well,
Stover went 4th round, pick 123 to the Houston Texans.
Yes. Right? Well, ask yourself this question, because again, every year is different. Dylan Gabriel, right? Would he have been the best quarterback? Was Bo Nix the best quarterback in the Pac-12 last year?
Well, no.
Not from a draft standpoint. Name a better quarterback in the Big Ten than Dylan Gabriel?
Right now?
Right now. So you can make the argument Oregon is in a better position from the quarterback standpoint in the conference they're in this year than they were last year.
I like Dylan Gabriel, man.
Well, yeah.
I do too.
The moxie he showed in the Red River Shootout.
It was a number one pick.
Do what?
About from the quarterback last year.
Yeah, but again, it is what it is. It's in reality. You probably have the best quarterback in the conference. I do agree with you, Blaine. I think he's got a little bit of that Jaden Daniels problem where your body doesn't match your ferociousness as a runner. I think so. You go back and look at Oklahoma. Dylan Gabriel took some shots, and Dylan Gabriel's a little guy. Dylan Gabriel's not a big guy at all. He's smaller than Tua. Like he's smaller than Tua was, I believe. So
He's 6 foot, 200 pounds.
Yeah, that's why getting Dante Moore, I think, was huge too, just as an insurance policy. And you took a good player away from a team that you play on the road. So it's kind of the old 2-for-1 through the transfer portal. But we want to know what you think. We got Chris Marler coming on. The phone line's open, 7:15 a.m. Central, 1-855-236-3228. I still can't believe I remember that number off the top of my head. But whether you're doing futures on maybe Oregon to beat Ohio State, I know there's some lines out there early right now. Who's going to win the Big Ten, the ACC, Big 12, all that stuff. NHL playoffs, MLB, NBA playoffs, which is absolutely nuts right now. It doesn't matter what you bet on. It matters where you bet on it at. And you need to go to betonline.ag if you're going to place your bets today, tomorrow, or in the future. And if you use promo code BOOSTER, you get a 50% instant deposit bonus of up to $1,000. So you throw a stack in there, they give you $500 extra to play with at betonline.ag with promo code BOOSTER. We're about to get into the crazy playoffs. I mean, whether it's props, whether it's, spreads, totals, even futures for the playoffs, they literally have everything, including if you want to bet on politics, which, you want to see who's going to win stuff. Just follow the money there. You think they're good at betting it. You think they're good at coming up with stuff for sports. Wait till you see the political stuff they come up with, whether it's Quidditch, badminton, underwater basket weaving, pickleball in Yugoslavia. BetOnline.ag is going to have it. BetOnline, where the options are endless, and so is the fun.
Also, horse racing.
Horse racing.
Horse racing's one you can't find. You can't go to DraftKings and.
It's a good point.
Horse racing.
That's a good
online.
point.
You can,
by the way, I think the Kentucky Derby set a record for the amount of money that was bet on it this year, like $237 million.
Is that what
Something
it was?
crazy like that. I think the record was like 210.
I'll take 10%.
Yeah.
Glad I didn't bet it.
Yeah. Hashtag fade Vic.
Glad we keep bringing that up.
All right, Booster Club.
Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you donate, it's on topic. It will get read. We're going to start off with BJ, the gravedigger. Says, nah, the disrespect for Howard is too much. He at least gets twice as good as DoorDash Stetson Bennett.
Listen, why? It's amazing. It's
What a
amazing.
name.
How can Stetson Bennett still be underrated and get crapped on like that? I don't know how you could watch that and watch what Stetson did in the big moments. I would take Stetson Bennett over Will Howard 10 out of 10 times, and it's not even close. You got beat out by a curly-headed guy that can't throw a slant at Kansas State. So and again, I hope Will Howard is good because I think this Ohio State team, if he can figure it out, be the best in the country. I think them and Georgia overall probably have the best rosters. I think Oregon has a top 5 roster, but Will Howard doesn't, again, I said this about Peyton Thorne. Like, he doesn't need to go out there and be Batman. Just be a really, really good Robin. Run the RPOs right. Be a threat to run the ball. Throw the ball away when you need to throw it away. Throw the check down, and guess what? Just throw it anywhere near some of these Ohio State wide receivers, and they're going to make the play. I don't think Will Howard's a bad player, but his ass ain't C.J. Stroud, and Kyle McCord went 11-1, buddy. 11-1. He doesn't throw it as well as Kyle does.
I mean, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks, 3,000 yards there. It's not terrible.
No. Again, he wouldn't be at Ohio State if he was terrible. I think he's better than Devin Brown, to be honest with you. But is he going to be better than Julian Sayin in a year? I don't think so. So, again, but that's the beautiful part is sometimes it's not how good the driver is, it's how good the car is. And you are getting into a Lambo. You are getting into a Ferrari. You are getting into an F1 car. Just don't run it into the side of the track and you'll win the race.
All right, let's go to Jor. He says, tell me the difference between Oregon and Penn State.
Quarterback.
Right now.
Quarterback. Drew Aller, and I think there's blame to go around for the passing situation at Penn State last year. I mean, they protected Drew Aller a lot because they didn't have to throw the ball around a lot. But in the games that James Franklin and Penn State had to throw the ball, they couldn't do it because they had no chemistry built around. No chemistry built around. I don't think Penn State's very good at wide receiver right now, to be honest with you. I mean, hell, one of their guys, I know he didn't end up living up to the hype last year with Keandre, but he's at Auburn now. I would take Dylan Gabriel over Drew Aller 1,000 out of 1,000 times. And you know what? I do hope Drew figures it out because I think Drew has a ton of talent. But the more I look at Drew Aller and wipe my eyes, the more I see Christian Hackerberg, zero sugar. That's what I see.
Schedule's still favorable for Penn State, though. No Michigan on this schedule. You get the Buckeyes at home. You get Washington at home. They do open up at West Virginia. That's always fun.
Yeah, and look, Neil Brown, he saved his job last year.
$5 donation from Nathan J. says, comparing Will Howard to Stetson Bennett is absolutely disrespectful.
It's asinine. It's asinine. Don't tell on yourself like that.
Man, I'm pulling up. I got Stetson Bennett's, so his senior year stats here when they won the second national championship. Stetson Bennett, 4,100 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 68% completion percentage.
And could run.
You blew it in the NFL, man. You got drafted by Sean McVay and Matt Stafford got hurt.
Yeah.
He could have filled in and played well.
Could have been a hero, but you already were a hero. The damn Coors Lights.
All right, let's go to BS. He says, Oregon will lose 2 games early and then dominate the Big Ten.
Who will those two be to, though? Like it's
Early.
To me, if they were gonna drop a couple,
Oregon?
Yeah, if they were going to drop a couple, it would be at the back end of that schedule. Maybe after a big upset over Ohio State at home, then you drop one at Camp Randall where they're jumping around, and maybe Michigan finds a way to have an orgy in the backfield and scoop one out. But I don't see the front half of that schedule does not scare me.
I don't know, man. Maybe at Corvallis is the sneaky game. I mean, Oregon State's still going to be a rivalry game.
It will be
super disrespected.
It will be, but that's the first kind of, And listen, no offense to Boise State, and I like that they hired Spencer, who after Andy Avalos got fired last year, kind of Spencer Danielson brought them out of the wilderness a little bit and gave them a little stability going into this year. But Oregon's a lot better than Boise State. Like I said, that game will be interesting for about the first 4.5 drives probably. But I just don't see the first big game of Oregon's year, which I don't care how good Oregon State is. I don't care if Oregon State's in a conference or not. Oregon is going to get up for the Civil War. Mm-hmm. Like they just are. And this is Dylan Gabriel's first chance to make a big stamp at Oregon as the quarterback and then to kind of start ramping up before the Buckeyes come to town.
I think a lot of the questions that we're asking here are going to be asked throughout fall camp too, is like, how good is the starting quarterback for the Buckeyes going to be? Is that going to be Will Howard? How effective is he? Same thing for Michigan. Who's going to play quarterback, and how's that run game going to look after you lost so many offensive linemen? Sharon Moore got elevated to head coach. He's an offensive line guy. They're going to be able to run the football, and Donovan Edwards looked really good in the spring. And then for Wisconsin, who Oregon also plays on the road, how good is Tyler Van Dyke when he goes up to the Big Ten?
Yeah, that's true, Don't you feel like his game translates a little bit more to the big? Yeah, it's more of a pro style.
I thought he did better last year when he wasn't projected as this top 10 quarterback in the country. He played more within himself.
I agree with that. All right, one more, and then we got to get to the playoffs.
All right, let's go to Blake Bay. What's up, Blake? Says Will Howard led K-State to a Big 12 championship. He's a pretty damn good quarterback.
Well, again, no.
He didn't start for the first half of that season.
Yeah, like why are we inventing this Will Howard is just this incredible quarterback narrative? Like he didn't play for half of that year.
Hold on, am I mistaken though? Wasn't it Adrian Martinez who was?
It was. Remember they went back and forth.
I think Will got hurt. Then they put Adrian in.
It was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Nobody is saying Will Howard is about. If Will Howard is so good, has Ohio State come out and named him the starter and I just didn't see it? I saw South Carolina's name Lenore Sellers the starter. I mean, we're sitting here, Devin Brown's out here telling people he's not going to transfer after he was watching Will Howard. And Will Howard may end up being really good. And Ohio State is going to be really good regardless because they're talented around him. But let's stop acting like Will Howard. Will Howard, I wonder if he'll get drafted. I wonder if Will Howard will get drafted next year. Probably late. But we have to stop acting like Will Howard is this elite player. Like he was literally going to get, why did he leave Kansas State? He was about to get beat out by Avery, who was sneaking up on him last year, who we don't even know if he can throw the ball yet. Think he fits good into what Kansas State wants to do. But again, we'll see. The game's got to be played out. But acting like Will Howard is this incredible player right now, I just think is a farce. I mean, in comparing him to Stetson Bennett, I think is borderline insanity.
Well, I've seen the Buckeyes win a national championship with their third-string quarterback. And then Joe Burrow was the fourth guy in transfer.
Yeah, and you know what? They're good enough to do that this year around them. Yeah. They're good enough up front. That defense is an absolute nightmare. They may just have to just kick a field goal, and just don't screw it up. After that, that's how good this defense will be. But talk about defense. T-Wolves last night, Dave. Goodness.
I mean, boys, it's getting serious. It's getting serious. And so Minnesota just beat Denver by 26 points, 106-80. And Anthony Edwards is just the most electrifying basketball player. Karl Anthony Towns hitting shots from everywhere. He had 27 last night. Jokic had 16 and 16, but, Michael Porter Jr., 9 points. Jamal Murray, 8 points.
It's one thing to get beat. It's another thing to get dominated. I don't even think that game was as close as the final score indicated last night. I really don't. Anthony Edwards is out here shaking people and pointing at them and laughing. Rudy Gobert didn't play last night.
Yeah,
his kid was being born, which I have no problem. I saw people like, oh, how do you not play in this game? Y'all got to get y'all's priorities right. Like, is my kid's being born? I'm not there. Like, it is what it is. And I love sports more than anybody. I'm as competitive as anybody on this planet, right? But there's some things that are more important than the other. I'm just sitting here watching this, and it's weird to see the Nuggets get beat up like this. But I'm starting to really believe Minnesota may be the most physical team in the playoffs. They really might be. Blaine, I mean, am I wrong?
No, I think that's an honest assessment. I would probably go them and Knicks are the two most physical. Like, look, anytime you hold an NBA team to 80 points, that from a defensive perspective, it's insane. It's insane. And this is nothing new from the Timberwolves team. They've been physical all year. The craziest thing about it, they did this without Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
They did this. So you gave up 80 points without your rim protector. And not only that, but how do you stop? You have to beat Denver Nuggets as a team, right? And I know Ant had 27, and I know Cat had 27, but if you watch the Timberwolves, they beat you as a team. And if you can stop, Jokic is going to get his. Yeah. You're not going to stop it. Yeah. All right? If you can contain it and stop the Jamal Murray 8 points, Jamal Murray looks hurt to me. Like that calf strain you played through and that last series, that shit it looks like it's catching up to you now, buddy. All right, this is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. Well, I think you bring up a great point. The Timberwolves out Denver. Like they're kind of I know that the Nuggets don't play the two-tree system. That's what I call them. Mm-hmm. It's a redwood forest out there, but one of them wasn't there yesterday. But they are out Denvering Denver, and now, you know, we sat here and our buddy Quade Atkins gave me hell for saying, and he ended up being right, that when the Knights went and beat Dallas in the NHL, 2-0 on the road, hey, there's a good chance you get swept. I'm saying the same thing right now, though. You're going back to play 2 in Minnesota. I'm trying to figure out, in my mind, how Denver combats this, because it's, again, Jokic isn't playing bad. Like you said, he did get 16 and 16. Typically, he scores more than 16. But I don't see this getting better. Like, what's the remedy to this?
Yeah, well, I thought in game 1, okay, the Nuggets are coming off a series with the Lakers. Don't impose nearly the physicality that Minnesota is. Maybe you just get jumped in that first game and lose by a couple points. Yeah. It's not that surprising. But then to follow that up with even a bigger blowout, and now you're going to go on the road for 2. But even if you think like, hey, the Nuggets are still the better team, they're still the better team, it's a long series, being in a 2-0 hole against a team that's this physical is just tough.
You talk about rocking, that Minnesota, that arena is going to be absolutely, this is a new era, man. And you could just tell, looking at John Finch in the post-game press conference, and he talked defensively, the physicality. I mean, he even said it. He's like, look, we've had some really good defensive performances this season. That may be the best one. There's just not a lot of answers right now for what the Timberwolves, it's almost just like the matchup's bad.
Which is like fascinating because we've been talking about
I don't know what's... Well, like that's what I was going to say, but then Rudy Gobert doesn't play yesterday and they lose by 20.
Yeah.
So what's dictating the matchups being bad? To me, that would be, well, you're running into too big, so it's tougher for the Nuggets because they're a larger team to move around and do what they want to do. But they lost Cat's not known for defense.
No.
Like that. Cat's a scoring big.
Yeah. I think Cat's become a product of what the Timberwolves have become, because I think Cat was soft coming into the last year, if we're going to be honest. And I'm not the only one who thought that. I mean, it's amazing. We talk about becoming, you are what you eat in your environment. I mean, I'm watching Cat just walking around different, man. I mean, that's 27 and 14.
That's from Anthony Edwards.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
That's what that's from.
Maybe this is good for Denver. Hey, now our back's really against the wall. We got to go on the road.
Don't count them out. If there's ever a team
just go get game 3
to go through this.
Go get game 3, right? Go get game 3 on the road. Then we'll just take it one game at a time, fight our way back in.
Well, at what point? At what point is it like Jokic game 3? I'm gonna score 47.
And my question is that enough?
Well, I mean, outside of it, and we talked about the Nuggets, like they beat you as a team. I mean, it's got to come from Jamal. It's got to come from Pope. But Jokic is going to have that game. He's going to have the team on the back,
and just match Anthony Edwards.
And just magic their way. Because again, it's, at this point, it shocked me.
Well, all right, let's go to the Knicks, because they won game 1 against the Pacers. And this guy, Jalen Brunson, I mean, we talk about Anthony Edwards as having the best postseason, but I'm sitting here looking at Jalen Brunson, 4th straight 40-point game. He had 43 last night. This guy is 6'2", 190 pounds, and he went 1 for 4 from 3. So he's not just like splashing threes from a distance.
No. I'm running out of adjectives to describe Jalen Brunson. I'm just running out of them. Like, I'm just going to have to start saying the same ones over and over again. And it's not just that he scores them. It's when he scores them. He dropped 21 in the fourth quarter last night. If you watch that Knicks-Pacers game, the Knicks came out in the first quarter, looked pretty good, at a 3-point lead, and then up until the fourth, and really up until about 9.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, Indiana dominated that game. They could not stop Siakam. Miles Turner looked like a guy that I'm watching the Pacers, and I will say it's the Pacers, when you look at where they're ranked in certain statistics, it's weird. I don't know if anybody has better ball movement offensively than the Pacers. The ball does not stick, but they give up the most points at the rim out of any team, but they're just weird. They're all over the place. It's the team's put together weird. But, watching Jalen Brunson, he just made the decision. We're going to win this game because of me. I am going to take over this game. Now, DiVincenzo had a really good game last night. DiVincenzo looked really good. Haru, the Great White Ninja. But when it comes down to the Knicks, I mean, Jalen Brunson, to me, I think has been the best player out of the whole NBA playoffs.
Not surprising. That's not surprising.
Even that's including Anthony Edwards.
But I just think that the Knicks play so damn hard. Like
Josh Hart.
Watching Josh Hart get offensive rebounds almost brought my love back to the NBA because it looked like he cared. It looked like he mattered. Josh Hart was running through people. I think he ended with 25, 13 boards, and this is a two-guard. This is like the way the Knicks play like they're in the college tournament and everything's on the line. That's how the Knicks play. And as a basketball fan, you gotta love that. And they're doing it without Julius Randle.
Yeah. Well, Josh Hart's the best OK player I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's
the best OK player I've ever seen.
Man, one more thing here on the Minnesota Timberwolves. They've won every game in the postseason. All right, they swept the Suns, now 2-0 against the Nuggets, and the closest game they had was a 6-point win over the Suns.
Dominating.
I mean, that's incredible.
It's amazing. It's real when you are, speaking of Drake, like we were talking about, it's real when you are who you thought you were. I think the Timberwolves are seeing themselves become what they thought they were going to be. And that is a very, very potent mix for guys at this level. But I agree with what Blaine said. I think this mindset starts with Anthony Edwards and has bled throughout the whole team. Kat said it last night. And excuse my language, we said, when Anthony's out there talking his shit, I know it's about to be a good night. And it's been a good night every single night.
A lot of good nights.
A lot of good nights. Ton of good nights.
One game on the ice last night was Bruins-Panthers, first game of the series. Bruins on the road, 5-1. That was 0-0 in the first period. I had the under in this game. Then it goes 3-1 in the second period, and then Boston adds 2 more.
Yeah, that last goal kind of smoked everybody that had it 5.5. And you weren't crazy for taking the under. I saw a stat last night. The Panthers were number 1 in the NHL when it's 5-on-5 of goals given up. Right? You know who's number 3? The Bruins. So you would think in a game that you're going to have 5-on-5 for most of the time, the under would hit. Hockey's so funny to me. It's interesting the way that having the intermissions and you can regroup. It's like having 2 halftimes, which I find fascinating. But watching that game, even early, it felt like the Bruins controlled the puck most of the game, and it felt like Dabrowski was having to literally play the game of his life for the whole game. You go back to that first period, some of the saves that he had, some of the silly turnovers, that was just a very un-Panthers-like performance from after the first period. But even during points in that first period watching it, the Bruins felt like they were putting all the pressure on the Panthers, and the Panthers, because Swayman's just, and I don't want to take away credit from Swayman, right? He's had a hell of a postseason. But it just felt like he was just able to chill over there. He's like, oh, good shot. Just watch him against Dabrowski. He just enjoyed, bought a ticket to watch the game. That's what it felt like to me watching it. And then all of a sudden you look up, and the Panthers aren't an elite offensive team right now, in my opinion. I don't think they've been one all year. But you get up 2 goals on them, it's hard for the Panthers to come back, right? They're like the team in football that runs the ball really well. They're just not built to come back. Like that's just not who they are. So we'll see. There's some more games tonight. This series, I think you're going to get a split. I think you're going to get a split. I think we're going to be 2-2 getting into the last 3. And I think it's going to end up being a hell of a series.
Should be a fun one. Yeah.
But before we get Chris Marler coming on, guys, let's be honest. All right, I'm talking to the fellas out there. All right, ladies, you can listen because it makes a good gift. Even though, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of like getting your wife like a vacuum for Christmas, right? But we all know you aren't the same guy you were 10 years ago. I know I'm not. It's amazing I'm even like this, to be honest with you. But with Nugenix Total T Testosterone Booster with Tesnor, it'll help you turn back the clock and re-energize your life. Blaine, tell them about it.
Jacked, tan, get out of bed, tan, jacked with some laundry.
That's exactly right. You got nothing to lose and everything to gain. New energy, muscle, drive, and even more passion. You know what I'm saying, right? Turn that flame back on. Flame on! All right, get your complimentary sample when you text 231-231, that's the number, and you enter keyword CRAIN, that's our last name. And if you text now, you'll get a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest and most powerful fat incinerator ever, because lunch has been canceled due to lack of hustle. It's also got key ingredients to help you lose fat and get lean even faster, and it's absolutely free. So text 231-231, enter keyword CRAIN, that's Crain, 231-231, enter keyword Crain. This is the closest you're going to get to a time machine. It's 2024. Our scientists aren't smart enough to figure out the time machine yet, so make sure you try out Nugenix, 231-231. Enter keyword Crain, CRAIN. Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated text message. Consent not required to purchase message data rates applied. Number one doctor recommended by primary care physicians based on an independent survey conducted by IQVIA 2022. Boom, nailed it. All right, Booster Club quickly, and then we're going to get to Kristoff before he gets pissed off.
All right, let's go to Ben Johnson. He says, I hope Minnesota makes it all the way to the end so I can hear Jake say T-Wolves every day.
T-Wolves.
I think I say it right, too, and apparently I don't.
What? T-Wolves. That I literally say wolves. I don't say woofs.
T-Wolves.
Like, again, like back when Kevin Garnett was there, all we did was call them the T-Wolves.
Yeah.
Nobody called them the Timberwolves.
Didn't their jerseys say T-Wolves?
Yes.
Yeah. Am I making that up?
No. That's like, when I think of Minnesota's basketball, I think of the T-Wolves, not the Timberwolves.
I think about Steven Brooks. He says, David, I'm so sorry because I'm to blame for the under 5 goals bet not hitting. I was talking to my buddy at the end of the first period yesterday, and I looked him in the eyes and said, David's under 5 goals, definitely.
Dude.
Oh, why would you do that? You monster.
Don't mouth it.
Nobody don't. If you're the person, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to help. I'm going to give you, before we bring Chris on, I can see his just beautiful sculpted face right now before I bring him on. But if you're the guy that either texts in the group chat or looks to the other person and says, oh man, this bet's definitely going to hit while it's going on, like, don't stop doing it, you sick monster.
Brooks,
now,
yeah.
if you're the guy that does the devil's advocate or plays the other side, that
I love it.
The other one to hit,
I love
you're a champion, sir.
Well,
you are a scholar and a gentleman. But if you're doing it the other way, Stephen Brooks, stop it, man. This is Booster Club. This is family.
At least Stephen Brooks owned
First
it.
step.
Thank you for your apology, and it'll never be as bad as my boss back in Atlanta during the Super Bowl tweeting out, oh my God, the Falcons are going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, don't. I just.
At halftime.
Why? You know what?
At
on that
halftime,
note,
Chris, oh my God, the Falcons are going to win the Super Bowl.
Let's bring on Chris Marler, Fourth and Wrong podcast. Chris, what type of sicko does things like that?
Every time you have me on the show, it's way too early, and it's every time the Falcons 28-3 blown lead is brought up, it's never gonna not hurt. So thanks a lot, David. You know what? I'll unstream your stupid song. I'll tell you what America does with me, and that's the Falcons reference.
You can't unstream it. It doesn't go backwards.
Yeah.
What you can do, though, is wear that Michigan hat. He has a hat for every college in the country. Everyone, except the bet he has to make good on.
Knowing Chris, he next time I show up with a Michigan State hat and then like a Michigan Tech hat. He'll go like every
with a little piece of tape over state.
in the state of Michigan. But Chris, look, we were talking a little bit of Oregon earlier. You know, Dan Lanning's the guy. He hadn't been able to crack through and win that big game. But, you know, we've seen guys, you know, head against the wall, and then they break through it. Jim Harbaugh, for example, right? Kirby Smart, for example. Dan Lanning is a hell of a football coach. Don't you just think it's a matter of time?
You know, I don't want to say that about anybody going into this new era of the playoff. I think everyone has these like preconceived notions of what we know we're going to see in the playoff.
Yeah.
To the same point, though, yeah, the thing that makes him different is that he's so far removed from the SEC, but he's building his team exactly like you'd want to build an SEC team, and or like the way Michigan was built last year, and that's like from the inside out, like the recruits that they're bringing in and the talent they're bringing in and the depth on that roster. from the inside out. And what I mean by that is like from the defensive line, the offensive line. But I mean, Cristobal somewhat tried to do that with his offensive line pedigree, but what Lanning has been able to do from that specific like point of view on how to build a roster has been very, very impressive. And then just from a pure like massing of talent, like I mean, it's everything in college football now is an arms race in terms of talent. It has been for the last probably like 10, 15 years, and he gets it. Like he's worked under Saban, he's worked under Kirby, and the amount of talent he's brought in, I think is something that is going to be really, really impressive. There's a reason why they're favored already over Ohio State. I will also say, I'm not sold on Dylan Gabriel, but we can get to that as we get closer to the fall. I don't think that he's necessarily going to be the star that everyone thinks he's going to be in Oregon.
Yeah, I think their ability to run the ball, and I know we're going to have you back on multiple times. I think it's going to protect him a little bit more than the past. But I want to shift to a team, Chris, in the SEC. You look at LSU, and Brian Kelly when he got the job. Yeah, well there you go. When he got the job, he is one of the best CEO head coaches, style of head coaches in the country. But it seems that LSU has not found a way to achieve balance. They basically switched places with Ole Miss. Really good on offense, can't tackle anybody, not really a complete team, and it costs you. How awkward is it? Because you grew up watching the same things I did in the Southeastern Conference. Watching LSU be this bad on defense, do you think they're going to be able to remedy it this year with some of the changes that they made? It's almost like finding out, like LSU, it's so awkward to watch them being bad on defense. I used this analogy the other day. It's like finding out your dad can't fight. It's like watching him get beat up. It's just weird to see.
Yeah, I don't know if I wanted to bring up dad stuff. We can do that, some other time as well. This is good.
Well, that's the next show. That's the next show.
That's perfect. Yeah. I think so. The issue with LSU, like I think Blake Baker is going to be a phenomenal hire at DC.
I do too.
Saw what he did at Mizzou, and here's the thing: like they can't get worse. Like the benchmark has been set so low. If you talk to LSU fans around, like Baton Rouge in general, I think there's a lot of frustration from last year because it's like you look back, especially after that NFL draft in the first round of it, the amount of talent they had, and they were like the points they were able to put up per game, and just having somebody like Jaden Daniels in general. If you had any semblance of a defense, you probably would have competed for a playoff spot or potentially a national championship. And they didn't. So, I think the defense will get better. The thing with LSU that blows my mind, right? Like LSU as a brand, everyone knows is going to compete to some elite level, it seems like, every year, every couple of years. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I've ever seen a victim of social media culture and what my buddy JD Patel always calls this punchline culture as bad as Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is one of the winningest active head coaches in the entire country. He's got over like 260 career wins. He's been really successful at every single stop. Won the division, got to Atlanta in year one in the SEC. But that man lost in embarrassing fashion in 2012 to an Alabama team that won the national championship. In 2018 to a Clemson team that was one of the best, maybe top 5 teams of all time, some people think. And then in 2020 to Alabama, who's also probably a top 5 team of all time. Those 3 losses have skewed everyone's view of Brian Kelly and how good of a coach he is. And it's mind-blowing to me. Yeah. I think LSU is going to be really good this year. And his schedule is really good as well. If you look at some of those main games, they're favored in almost every single game except for A&M somehow. I think they're going to be really good this year.
Yeah, I like you said, defensively can't get much worse. I like Blake too. Yeah. That was a hell of a hire.
Hey Chris, I've been talking to a lot of Colorado fans over the past couple of weeks, and they're all really excited to be in the national narrative. Hey, we finally have eyeballs on us at the national scale, breaking spring game attendance records, and it's really exciting. I mean, if you're a Colorado football fan, to finally hey, look at this. We're getting talked about with a lot of these other schools that we're going into the Big 12. And, maybe we have a chance to actually compete for the conference or maybe get into a college football playoff. But then they tell me also, is it a good thing when our head coach is posting on social media about players transferring and calling them out personally? I just want to ask you, is Deion Sanders opening himself up for these other teams they're going to play to just try and drop 50 on them every single game? Or with Deion Sanders, is it just imperative that he play the heel persona and just embrace the villain role every season?
So a lot of nuance here, I think, in this whole Colorado debate. You brought up the whole thing about your dad not being able to fight. This is Colorado's like you find out your dad's not able to fight, but your dad is constantly getting into fights.
I thought this was America.
Yeah, this was America. The thing with Deion is, listen, like first and foremost, I think he's great for college football, and there's tangible evidence to show that that's true. Like you saw all the numbers last year from a year ago, the views and the viewers of like everything that Colorado was. I was appointment television a lot of times, especially in the first month of the season. But here's the thing, like you saw it last year with the first coach you brought up, Dan Lanning.
Yeah,
I mean Dan Lanning was not playing around. Like Colorado is very lucky they don't have to come into the eastern part of the United States because they are going to get their ass beat in every single meaningful game while he's the coach there for at least like. I don't see how it gets better after his son leaves and Travis Hunter and all those things. Like they have gone into a situation where they have been it's a quote from American Gangster. The loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room. And I think that it's a cool story and it's fun to see like somebody that is that vocal and that much of a heel and all that great. But this isn't wrestling. I mean, it's college football. And you do at some point on Saturday, I always say this, they're going to tee up that effing football and you got to line up and go play somebody. And they, when the lights got bright last year and like it wasn't just playing Colorado State or a horrible TCU team, it was way too bright for Colorado. Again, great for college football. I hope they go 0-12, man. And not even just because of Deion, but Shedeur is like that. There's just no part of that kid that makes me believe he's a leader of men, man. It's so much me. It's kind of frustrating to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, doesn't it feel like if you have the mindset Deion has and the way he goes about it, that's okay when you're Deion Sanders and you're going to play.
Yeah.
Like if Deion Sanders was going on the field and he was the one doing the physical action, okay, I can get it. But that's hard to put into someone else. Like take the, I'm going to go out here and dominate you mindset and then I'm not the one playing. Like that's a totally different animal.
Well, it's cool. It's always cool to see somebody break the mold and shatter a glass ceiling and all that kind of stuff. I'm all for that, and I think it's awesome to see what he has been able to do. Right, like he went to Colorado, he had all this hype around it. That's a 1-11 team that was averaging giving up like 53 points per game in their last 6 games of the season before he got there. But then you come in and you don't make an in-home visit in Boulder, right? Since you've been there. You strictly go to the portal and you're like, all right, maybe year one that does work. Maybe it's like a new era of college football and he's able to turn this thing around. That doesn't work. We saw this year it didn't work at least. And now in year two, you still don't have any high school recruits. The transfer portal stuff is kind of drying up a little bit. And you're still as much of an a-hole about all of it. It's like the comment he made about, why would I do an in-home visit? Like kids don't want to see, I don't want to see a kid's house. They want to see my house. All right. It's just, it's all, it's so much. It's so much. And I think he's rubbing too many people the wrong way.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I have a serious question. Are you going to be playing the new NCAA game when it comes out?
Your brother messaged me about this the other day. Me and Jimbo were at Planet Fitness.
Me and Jimbo were at Planet. There's a story.
Do you like Planet Fitness, Chris?
I was at Planet Fitness.
Do you like Planet Fitness?
No.
I love it. It's a judgment-free zone. No, I
don't make that joke. Blaine.
Come on, dude. I don't get so many chances to do that.
Don't make that. It's a family show.
It's $10 a month. I don't do anything in the bathrooms, okay?
Well, it's Planet Fitness and
plan on fitting these nuts in your mouth.
Here we go.
Okay.
And there it is.
That's what it was.
And you kept pushing it, Chris. You kept pushing it.
So what's your thoughts of the new NCAA game, Chris? You gonna play it?
Ladies listening.
No, I'm not. I don't have a console.
Chris, go get one.
Let's go get one together.
Are we going to have to make an in-home visit? We're going to have to come make an in-home visit.
Because right now I'm taping my PS2 and my PS3 together and calling it a PS5.
Hey, that works.
Yeah.
That works.
It's not working for me.
Listen,
plug them into
you're
each other.
You're a music star now, so you can definitely afford a new one. So it looks awesome. Like it looks like it's going to be awesome, right? Like I think I don't want to date myself, but I will. But like, dude, the greatest Christmas break I ever had as a kid was like my freshman year of high school. It was when Outkast Sankonia came out, and I just got that CD and then NCAA 98 on my PC ROM with Danny Werfel on the cover and played it for like 2 straight weeks. I had a dynasty with Idaho and then North Carolina playing in Idaho Stadium. It was fantastic. So at some point, I'm going to have to do it. I'm just trying to wait as much as possible.
You could relive that Christmas break again, Chris.
Yeah, every day. Every break
Every
could be
day.
Christmas free.
All right, let's go to Ben Elliott. Chris, he wants to know, who is UGA's biggest threat to winning the national championship?
The Athens PD.
Oh, Chris. I got a good one.
That's barely a knock on Georgia. That is a lot of the knock on sometimes, those kids get into a lot of trouble for things that don't always seem like a huge deal up there. But no, the answer is Ohio State. If you sat me down today and we looked at both teams, from a roster standpoint, it's hard not to argue that Ohio State might be a better starting 22. Like you look at some of these early mocks for next year in the draft, just the talent. Dude, the talent that Ohio State kept in-house from last year to this year is really, really impressive. Did I just lose you guys?
No,
I see.
Okay, so I've thought about this and wrestled back and forth with it because I think they're on a collision course. I've thought this for the last 3 years in a row, though. But I think they're on a collision course for the national championship, and both of those teams are so talented from the roster standpoint, the starting standpoint, the star power, all that. You just look at it from a coaching standpoint, though, and I think that's easily the X factor because nobody's coming close to Kirby in the country right now, in my opinion. So can Ryan Day get over the hump that he has in big games? That's the main question. But I think Ohio State's the answer there.
I have this image of like what's happened to Ryan Day over the last 3 years. Like, you know, the medieval like wheel, like the torture device that they turn, it like stretches your arms and legs. It's like every time that they've played Michigan or that some's happened to Ohio State the past 3 years, like they've just turned the wheel like one more time. And it's to the point now this year where if Ryan Day loses again to Michigan, which there is no excuse with that roster, with playing them at home, with what Michigan lost in the coaching staff and from a personnel standpoint, that Ohio State shouldn't win that game. I know it's a rivalry game. You know, you never say never, but it just feels like Ryan Day is, talk about a guy who's won a lot of games, but is still, you know, feels hot. That's Ryan Day. But we got one more from the Bitch Club line.
Yeah, let's go to Edward. What's up, Edward? He says, will Nebraska be the surprise of the Big Ten as they learn to win those games they lost by less than one score?
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, they've lost a ton of close games over the year, and that's usually a stat that you see year over year completely change, right? Like, it's like one of the reasons, like, I think there's some hesitancy about Mizzou is a good example. Mizzou, I think they were 4-0 in one-score games a year ago, or 4-1, something like that. So like sometimes that will change year over year, just like turnovers can.
Yeah.
That stat has not really seemed to change for Nebraska over the last several years. I think they're going to be fun to watch. I really do. I think Raiola is going to be fun. He's clearly your answer at quarterback. I think it's a really cool pairing with like the nostalgia of anybody that grew up watching Nebraska be good.
Yeah.
And then having this much juice from an elite recruit like that. He's the highest ranked recruit in program history. I don't know if they're going to be the must see or you know, biggest turnaround story, whatever it was that Edward said in the Big Ten. Just because there's so much new in the Big Ten, right? Like you have all these new teams that are coming in. But I do think they are going to be really fun to watch. I think Nebraska's a team that people are going to start pulling for. Like nationally, I think they're going to be, because they also seem a little bit harmless. It should be fun watching that fan base kind of come back to relevancy this year.
Yeah, well, Chris, to your point on the close games, like the one-score games, last year with the quarterback situation, it felt like Matt Rule in those games, they were just trying to hold on, just to keep it close. This year, and again, we'll have to see, but with Dylan and some of the moves that he made, it feels like they can be the one that's applying the pressure in the close game. You can always tell those teams that are like, please God, just don't screw it up. They end up screwing it up. I go back to the Minnesota game last year for Nebraska, where they were just trying to hold on. The Colorado game, just trying to hold on. And when you do that, eventually the dam breaks. You want to be the aggressor. Raiola will make mistakes. It'll be up and down because he's young, but he's got a lot of talent. And Matt Rule, man, he's built to build. I know that seems like kind of what he is. But speaking about building, man, Fourth and Wrong podcast, great stuff. Been watching on social, Chris. Know you guys are having a whole hell of a lot of fun there. Tell everybody where they can find it and where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, man. Fourth and Wrong, it's a daily podcast now. We're coming out every day. We have the newest episode. We have like our weekly long episode with me and my co-host Tyler Huck. Comes out every Monday. But as a show, as a whole, Fourth and Wrong podcast, it's out Monday through Thursday. We have a live show at 8 p.m. and then Friday at brunch at 11 a.m. So make sure y'all tune in and we'll We'll have two of you on. It won't be Blaine. I'll just admit it. The other two, you guys, David and Jake will come on. Yeah, after the nuts in your mouth comment, Blaine, you're going to be.
Look, I don't want to come on after I find out you work out at Planet Fitness. So I feel like it's a win-win.
It's $10 a month in this economy.
You can't.
In this economy?
You can't come back from that, Chris.
Chris, great stuff, man. Go check out the Fourth and Wrong podcast. You and Tyler do a really good job. Thanks for getting up with us early, buddy.
See you, man.
See you, buddy.
Chris Marler, we're going to get him that console. If it's the last thing I do, we're going to get him that console. All right. We got the phone lines open. David, you let me know when you're ready, buddy.
All right,
let's go to Ethan. He says, off topic, not really, but could USF be the sneaky G5 playoff team no one sees coming?
I think what Golish has, I think what they've accumulated through the transfer portal, I think it's them or Memphis are the two group of 5 teams that I've got my eye on. Fresno State's always sneaky, but right now, gun to the head, give me either Memphis or USF.
Let's go to SoCal Texan. He says, Rule is recruiting Texas well. They got some studs in 2024 class and are in a good spot for 5-star Michael Terry.
Yeah, well, I really like recruiting Texas, like relying on the state of Texas from a high school recruit development standpoint over the state of California. Even though I know California has some good players, I'm not trying to knock everybody in California, but I'll trust Texas.
All right, let's go to Bradley D.
About USF real quick. Listen to this stretch right here when they go at Alabama, at Southern Miss, Miami, at Tulane, and then Memphis.
Ooh.
Dude, that conference is... I'm telling you, man, that conference is a problem.
Let's go to Bradley D. What's up, B-Rad? He says, what will have a bigger impact, conference dropping divisions or the 12-team playoff?
12-team playoff, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're tripling the number of teams that can make
and it makes the game, to me, it makes the regular season more interesting in the back end. It really does it to me.
Yeah, I mean, because we've always had a situation where you don't have to win every game. I mean, you could lose the very first game of the season and still win the national championship. It doesn't make that first game any less important. I mean, you're trying to win it. The margin for error is still the smallest in college football than in any sport.
Well, depending on what conference you're in and what schedule you have, 9-3 can still get you where you want to go if it's the right 9-3. But all right,
let's go to Austin in Alabama on the phone lines. Austin, talk to us.
What's going on, guys?
What's up, man?
What's up, Austin?
I mean, y'all know every time I call in, y'all know I'm the biggest Doug fan from Bama.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Had to.
Before I say what I have to say, I have to give respect to Ohio State back in 2014. You did beat us in the national championship. I will have to give respect to that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when I talk to Ohio State fans, they don't like to talk about what happened in year 2021 when a weak Oregon team came in as 14-point dogs and ran the ball down their throats.
See, people forget that, too. Now, look, Austin, every year is different. Every team is different. It's going to be...
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Every team is different. I know this defense for Ohio State's elite. It's probably the best in the country. You can make that argument.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You can make an argument that Oregon may have a top 5 defense in the country.
I agree with that.
You can
Interior defensive line, got to see.
Yeah, you can argue that the receiving cores for Ohio State and Oregon are among the top 5. Make that argument. But I have a question, though. So this could be a game of the year moment. Usually game of the years can come down to the last possession. Now, if you had to go 20 yards with 2 minutes left, who are you trusting? Will Howard or Dillon Gabriel to get you the win?
Dillon Gabriel, to me. Same thing he did against Texas.
I'm not saying it's a guarantee Oregon is going to beat Ohio State. But, like, who are you trusting in big games? Who are you trusting in big games?
Well, I've seen Dillon blow it.
Have you?
Oh,
yeah.
Again,
multiple times.
Well, I mean, I've seen Dillon actually do it. I'm trying to remember Howard. I remember watching. I remember TCU not being able to sneak the ball in from the 1-yard line to beat Kansas State. But and again, we're not arguing whether one player's bad and one player's good. No. That's not what the argument is. I mean, this is a high-class argument of, which player is better. I just think you look at the skill set, you look at the numbers. You can't sit here and say, oh, well, Dillon Gabriel gets hurt. Will Howard gets hurt. Mm-hmm. Like, if we're going to be honest. So I would take Dillon Gabriel in a system over Will Howard.
I think we can say Dillon Gabriel's a better quarterback than Will Howard. But I think Will Howard, I've seen really good things from Will in big moments. And I think he'll fit the system at Ohio State probably a little bit better than what he did at Kansas State, just from, 1, the system with Chip Kelly, 2, just the athletes he's going to have around him. Is it surprising he hasn't been named the starter? Yeah, 100%. But I do think if you've watched Will, You've seen good things at big moments. Is he consistent enough? No. Is he better than Dillon Gabriel? No. But I do think will exceed people's expectations.
He might exceed people's expectations, but I think if Oregon beats Ohio State, I think Sayan takes the job the very next week.
I'm telling you, like that dude, and people talk about, the Alabama quarterbacks and this. Julian Sayin was the one, as a guy that grew up in Auburn, that was the one that scared me. Like when I watched the tape, when I watched that ball come out of his hands and the way that he played, I got a feeling that kid's going to be a stud. But I think when we're looking at this, the main thing we have to understand is, talking about the Will Howard and Dillon Gabriel situation, is that I don't think Will Howard has to do as much for Ohio State as Dillon Gabriel has to do for Oregon. Now, that isn't to say I think Oregon's going to be able to run the ball and have a lot of success, which sets up play action, which, gets the numbers you want on the outside. You can spit the bubble and all the stuff that Bo Nix did last year, those short throws, barely past the line of scrimmage and guys making plays, after that. But, I don't think I would rather have Dillon Gabriel having to do more for my team than have Will Howard having to do more for my team. Maybe that's the best way to put it.
I agree with that. And there's one quick thing. Would y'all rather see Oregon, Ohio State play 3 times or Texas and Georgia play 3 times in this new playoff?
I'd rather see Texas and Georgia.
If we're having that, I'm so glad we're having this argument. Or not argument, but those. I would be fine with both. I would be totally fine with both because I love football. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Texas and Georgia, just because, But I mean it'd be great football either way. I can't wait.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate it, Austin.
Thanks, Austin. Appreciate it, Austin. Great call, man.
Thanks, man. All right, let's go to Joshua in Oklahoma. Joshua, what's up?
Hey, guys.
Josh, what's up, man?
Y'all say watch the signs, and last night we had a thunderstorm roll through Oklahoma last night.
Okay.
Thunder.
Okay. This is the stuff I like to hear, Josh. So...
Me too.
Right now, I think the Thunder are 3-point favorites.
3.5.
3.5. Last time I saw this morning. And the Mavs. Hey, let me ask you this. I mean, this is Dallas versus Oklahoma. Is there some bad blood, Josh? Between is there a little bit of a rivalry here?
Knocked off Red River shootout.
Ooh, okay.
Oh wow.
Thunder
this is gonna be fun, dude. Man. This is gonna be fun. You like the Thunder big tonight?
Oh yeah, I think over the series they might go to 6, maybe, but I think the Thunder will make it. I don't know about beyond this, but they'll probably make it this series.
Well, I thought you were about to call in. When I heard Josh from Oklahoma, I was like, okay, somebody's about to call in and crap all over Dillon Gabriel. That's what I thought. And it may still be coming.
Kansas game last year,
it may still be coming. It may still be coming.
Well, that too. He's good, but Dillon Gabriel, I watched him all season last season. He's not the best. When I needed him the most, he was hit and miss, and that was the most frustrating part.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that final drive against Texas.
That one's pretty damn good.
Pretty good. But I've seen him. It's kind of like the Avatar. When you need him the most, he just disappears.
Does the Avatar disappear?
He's not consistent. He's not consistent when you need him. He's there, but then when you really count on him, sometimes he just comes up empty, and I'm like, really? So,
hey,
now if he were still at Oklahoma,
look, a lot of this from me stands off. I picked him when he was at UCF.
Yeah, this is a personal.
Yeah, I could tell. I knew there was something.
He threw a pick 6 to lose the game.
The longer this goes on, the more
now the truth comes out. An hour into the show,
he'll never be clutch in my book.
Yeah. Hey, Josh, give me a score. Thunder Mavs tonight.
We'll do 112-104.
All right. Write it down.
Good.
Write it down. Josh, if that happens, if not only a trust the sign situation happened, but the score gets exactly right, this has been written on some tablet.
Josh, if that happens, somewhere pack your bags and leave the country.
We're going to Vegas.
That's exactly right.
We're going to Vegas.
Call in tomorrow. Let us know how you thought it went.
Thanks, Joshua.
All right. Thank you, guys.
See you, bud.
Right.
Let's go to Will in Jersey. Will, what's up?
Uh-oh.
Morning, boys.
Morning.
What's up, Will?
How's it going? So game 1 last night, obviously the Knicks were able to pull it out, but they were kind of getting their ass kicked throughout.
That's what
the
I
game.
said. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on the series going forward. Just kind of getting some perspective, because I really hadn't seen the Pacers play that much, and obviously they beat the Bucks, so I know they're a very good team, but I was really impressed by them. What do you think the series is going to be like going forward?
Well, if you go look at that Pacers and Bucks series, it was pretty much like home team won, home team won, home team won, home team won. Now remember, Dame Lillard and obviously Giannis was out, but Dame missed a couple games as well. I don't want to take anything away from the Pacers. I don't think the Pacers could have played better for 85% of the game than they did last night. It was that last 15% you saw it, 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and beyond, Jalen Brunson took that game over. Jalen Brunson decided the Knicks were going to win. I don't think the Pacers can play that well again, and they still lost to the Knicks on the road. Now, Indiana will probably win their games at home. I really can see this one being 2-2 coming back to New York, but never sleep on Jalen Brunson late in the game. Somebody's going to be sneaky for the Knicks, whether it's OG or Hartenstein, who that little push shot that Hartenstein has, right in front of the free throw line is really kind of a sneaky, nice move. But look, Siakam's I don't think the Pacers consistently can stop teams going to the rim. They weren't able to do it in the regular season. They haven't been able to do it in the playoffs, and that's going to hurt them. That in the free throw line, because I don't see Miles Turner shooting that well again. Siakam's going to get his, but outside of that, man, I just think the Knicks are better. I think the Knicks stole one when they didn't play well and the Pacers played really well. That's what I think happened.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was just very surprised that the Pacers were kind of so dominant throughout the game. But I also just wanted to say, I know I called about the prices of the tickets for the Sixers series, but the Indiana prices are even more ridiculous. You could actually, from Philly, you could fly to Indiana, buy a ticket to the game, Uber from the airport to the stadium, and you'd still pay less than the cheapest ticket to go to the Garden for game 2.
But isn't that so? I know that sucks for the paying customer, but imagine, as a Knicks fan, which I know you are, did you think you would be here like ever again, honestly, where we're sitting here talking about this?
No.
It's a great trade-off. I would, if you told me, hey, Jake, Auburn tickets are going to go up $150 because they're going to be really, really, really good, I would take that trade-off. 100% I'd take that trade. Because you know what? You know what I'm going to do, Will? I'm going to sit on my couch and turn that TV on and look at everybody else that's there and watch us play really, really good.
Don't sleep on the Pacers now. Don't sleep on them.
You liked them in this series?
You won by 4, and Halliburton scored 6 points, and that's their best player. So,
yeah.
Well, I think Siakam's their best player. Siakam's the one he's the matchup nightmare to me. I don't know what you do with that cat.
Yeah. Yeah, I do ultimately like them in the series. I think it is going to end up being Knicks Celtics, and then
I hope it is, because that would be Jalen Brunson.
That'd be
and
really
Jason
good for the
Tatum.
NBA.
Would be really good for and you have New York and Boston.
That's what I feel like the NBA needs that matchup back.
Listen, I love Oklahoma City and this stuff's great, but you get New York and Boston, typically that turns out to be a pretty good dogfight. So we'll see.
Appreciate it, Will.
Great call, Will.
They flash. Oh, yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
See you, bud.
Man. All right, let's go to Cade in Idaho. Cade, what's going on?
Hi. So Broncos Bud here. And I just have a quick question.
Is it about the Boise State thing I said?
I don't want to talk about that. I was going to call in about that, but that's not my point today.
Good for you.
But my issue is, here in Idaho, we have no pro sports.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out who to root for in all these in the pro leagues. How do you determine?
This is so tough.
Well, Cade, you called the right guys, because me and Blaine grew up in the state of Alabama where we have no pro teams either. And listen, the Stallions, it's cool. I like it, all right? But
No, I don't care.
No
one cares, all right?
I'm a Stallions fan.
No, you're not. Name 3 players on the Stallions.
Jake, Jeff, and
exactly.
Jonathan.
It's
Man,
cool.
Jeff's good.
But
He's a great player.
Nobody cares.
Here's what I say. I think you're in it's hard for you to be bandwagon, right? When you grow up in a state,
such thing.
There's no such thing.
You can't be a bandwagon fan if you grew up in a state with no pro teams and you just pick a team.
So, do you go the route of, hey, I really like, a couple players on this team, so I'm going to root for them? Or do you do the geographical thing? like, well, the Seahawks are kind of close, right? It's, again, and in Idaho, it's not like, to be honest with you, it's not like you're surrounded by pro teams.
And don't be waiting on that expansion team.
Yeah, they're not said sorry, Broncos, but they're not setting an expansion
I think this is the luxury you get.
Yeah.
Right?
You get to choose.
You get to choose.
Ball's in his court.
And you live with, look, if you want to choose a team that's up and coming, you'll probably feel better about yourself at the end of the day. But if you want to go be a Chiefs fan, go be a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge you either way. I think you're kind of in the catbird seat.
So this is what I've been doing lately, mainly in the NFL, is I've been following Boise State players, obviously.
Understandable.
But my favorite player is Kellen Moore of all time. He was my favorite player of all time. And so basically, wherever he's coaching, and before where he was on the roster, that's who I've been rooting for. Problem is, he hasn't been coaching at the best teams lately.
Well, you can't worry about that problem.
Yeah, I
get it. I'm a LeBron fan.
Like I'm with you. I'm with you on that. But if it's about the guy and not about the team, then you got to show loyalty to that. Like, again, sounds like you haven't made your choice. So I'm not trying to lock you into wherever Kellen Moore is. You got to be a fan of that team. But to me, eventually you got to make a choice. Either it's where Kellen Moore is, or it's something else that you decide for some other reason, good, bad, nefarious, it doesn't matter.
Maybe you need to open yourself up to more signs. Let the signs come in. Let the signs dictate where you go.
Okay, do you have a window in your house? I'm guessing you do, probably somewhere, I would hope.
I do.
Do you face the forest or like outside? What do you look at? What's out there?
I look at another building.
So it's in a building state.
It's in a building state.
It's in a building state.
Okay,
right
what
now.
color is that?
I'm also looking at snow right now. It's May.
So snow, building. Snow and building together.
Building, snow. Jon Snow.
Congrats, you're a Dolphins fan.
Game of Thrones has what in it? Kings, Sacramento Kings. There you go. There it is, Cade. We figured it out. Sabonis. Learn it, love it, become it.
Here's the ultimate question. Do I have to so for example, if I like the Dallas Stars, I do like the Dallas Stars in hockey. Do I have to like all Dallas?
No. It's sports specific.
Yeah.
It's sports specific to me.
Situation you're in.
Like now, if you get in the situation of, oh, hey, I'm a,
Yankees fan, a Duke fan,
a Chiefs fan, a Duke fan, and then I'm gonna start judging you.
You're doing too much.
Because
you're like a Rangers fan and a Bama fan, and
I'm married into that. I'll have you know. And when you get married, I want to hear you. Tell me all.
It's crazy how that works out.
Yeah, it is crazy. Sometimes
you just can't You just can't root for multiple teams at the same time in a sport.
Yes, I think that's the biggest.
That's the number one sin you can't do. I can't respect you. Like the guy who wears one jersey and then takes it off when the other team's up. Like I feel like you should be like thrown fruit at you in public.
Yeah, and
vegetables at you in public.
Bananas.
Yeah, bananas. It doesn't matter.
Bananas to the face.
You just got to choose.
But Cade, I'm glad you called us with this problem. I hope we helped.
You did, for sure.
Thank you, Cade.
Thank you, Cade.
All right, last caller of the day, Michael in Alabama. Michael.
Loving all the representation.
Make Blaine apologize to the state of Alabama, please.
I will not.
Hey, Jake.
What's up?
What's going on? Hey, I had Black Bob on the show a couple of days ago, and I think he's wrong. I think he doesn't realize there's Hank Brown and Walker Wright on the Auburn roster. Why did he say Auburn are the two quarterbacks?
Well, I think because you know how this is, Michael. You've been watching the game for a long time. Having a young quarterback that we don't know about yet, whether that's Dylan Raiola at Nebraska, whether that's even like Nico at Tennessee, who just played in the bowl game, or Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma, who just played in the bowl game. Those guys have a little more experience, obviously, than Walker. But we just don't have a proven guy, Peyton does some good things, right? There's some good things that Peyton does. But if we're talking about a quarterback that can win big at Auburn and can be one of the reasons that you win big at Auburn, until Walker shows us, right, it's hard to go out on that limb. But I tell you what, I hope he is.
Yeah.
You know, God, I hope he is. I know you do too.
Yes, sir. About the NFL teams, see, I went to school with Marlon Humphrey and George Pickens.
Yep.
So I'm kind of calling the middle.
Pickens.
Who did I go with, the Ravens or the Steelers?
God, this is tough.
Here's like again, you're in a good spot, Michael, because you know there's two good choices. Number one, you're going to be in the playoffs. I would say just who you like more. Like, is it even where? Because if it's even, at some point you just got to flip a coin. But to me, there's got to be probably maybe one you like better than the other.
Yeah, I'm a Marlon Humphrey guy.
Okay. Well, then you're the Ravens, which that's I mean, it's got Derrick Henry. It's a good spot to be as a Ravens fan right now. I would say Ravens then.
Appreciate it, Michael.
Yes, sir.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Michael.
it,
Call in
Mike.
again. Hey, call in again.
You have a great day, bud.
Thanks, buddy. All right, that's it for call-ins today. We got a couple reactions here, though. Did you guys see that Snoop Dogg's getting his own bowl game now?
I love this.
Did you see this?
Yeah.
Play this, though.
What?
Play
Yeah.
this video. I couldn't stop laughing.
Football fans are exhausted by the constant talk around NIL, conference realignment, coach movement, transfer portal, and super conferences. So it's time that we get back to the roots of college football, when it was focused on the colleges, the players, the competition, the community, the fan experience, and the pageantry. I'm here to announce the new collaboration, the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl.
Yeah.
Presented by Gin and Juice.
Presented by Gin and Juice.
Yeah.
It's time for college football to get back to it.
Bring us out, dog. We'll hype up the bowl game. Bring us out.
Yeah, look, I love it.
Gin and Juice.
I love this.
It's time to get back to our roots. So here's my Snoop Dogg Bowl presented by Gin and
Genius.
Juice.
Love it.
Genius.
You want to get kids to play in a bowl game?
Yeah.
That's how you get kids
Bring us out. Bring us
Fly
out,
us out,
Snoop.
dog. We'll rep it.
Oh, I couldn't stop laughing.
Juice.
I love it. Did y'all see this baseball player who got traded when he was on second base?
No.
You see this? Play this.
No way.
Martorello's going to be pinch run for. I think these reports might be accurate, folks. Luke Montz has come down to the home plate umpire.
No,
he's on second base.
Part of it, man.
Trainer in the dugout. Montz is coaching third base. They got
Like,
his
hey,
attention. Martorella's out there at second, pointing at himself, going, "Who? Me? What'd I do?" Well, Nathan, you're
What
about to
color are
find
those
out
jerseys?
that there's some stuff going down.
Gold, silver. It's like Gilbert.
Pinch
Got
runner
traded.
at second base.
We can't finish the
Chase
game?
Valentine.
He said you got traded. He's like, well, like maybe the other team's like, get him off second.
I hate this.
We can't finish the game?
Can we not finish a baseball game for
Come
you
on.
to pull a guy off?
But what happens? Well, here's why. No, I
I
understand.
get why.
Like, what if he tears his ACL, run around third base, and I just traded for him? Get his ass off a second. It's a minor league game. Nobody cares.
That's
Deep
the
down,
other
it really
team's
doesn't
fault.
matter. Like, get him
It's
off.
the other team's problem.
Yeah. Well, like pinch run for him. Here, put in Trevor.
Can we just wait to trade him till the game's over?
No, we need him now. Wait, what if
It's minor league. You
what if
don't
they
need
pause-
that
Got
guy
traded
right
to
now.
that team.
What if they paused both games during the trade? Pinch ran for the guy that was getting traded, brought him in, flew him out, paused the other game, and then put him on second base in the other game.
Maybe that's what happened. We didn't
Maybe
get the
that's
other
what happened.
footage.
We didn't get to see the other one. No, that's. I wonder how many times that's actually happened. That's had to happen before that, right?
Really?
You would think.
Maybe.
Wonder if it's ever happened. Like, God, please trade me when it's a 0-2 count. When I'm in the.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I would've
time.
gotten
trade.
it.
Time.
I would have
trade.
hit it, I promise.
Yeah, time trade. It's not an out. Doesn't hurt the average. All right, let's get to bets. Brought to you by betonline.ag.
Our
and
sweet
the
board.
Super
Look at
Bet
that board.
This
How
board
sweet our board is.
is so dope. Look, last night,
How'd you do?
not good. The Knicks win by 4. By 4. Got you minus 5.5.
Oh!
I understand the parlay not hitting. You know, I get that.
The parlay. They're
Right?
meant to-
I get that. But let's win by 6, Knicks. I know the Pacers
tough.
played out of their mind. So tonight, gonna go over Celts Cavs. I like the Celts score 120 points tonight against the Cavs. I just hope Spider goes off.
What's the
Just-
spread for that game?
I think it was 12.
12.5?
Oh,
Celtics, yeah.
12. I mean, that's.
God.
I went back and forth, but it feels like a 124 to 96 game to me.
Okay.
Which would be a very pretty comfortable cover there, I believe, if my math is right. But then Stars Avs over 6, right? Avalanche. I feel like this game's going to be really really offensive, but I don't mean that in, like somebody's going to pull down their pants during the middle of the game in front of the camera. I don't mean it like that. I mean like they're going to score a lot of goals. So that's what I got.
I love it. All right, look, when guys from Oklahoma start calling in and they're talking about the signs, I'm really going to believe in it. So squad ride, Thunder, -3.5, -113. And let's go ahead and take the Celtics tonight as well. -11.5, -110.
Love it. 1-1 yesterday. Can't believe I hit the Rangers -1.5. Down 2-0 in the 8th.
You love to look.
Win 4-2.
You're hot.
It's a bunch of grown-ups. All right, we're going back to the Nerfy train yesterday. Today, White Sox Rays, first inning, no runs. It's going off at -120. Red Sox Braves, first inning, no runs. That's going off -111. 111, I will not be betting any more Dodgers Nerfies because I cannot watch Shohei hit another tank.
So you're dodging the Dodgers.
I am.
I love it. All right.
Ace Money. He's taking Cane's money line and Stars money line. Cane's money line, that's going off at -123. Stars money line, that's going off at -1.
Canes, bounce back.
Canes, baby.
Hockey day.
Raise them.
Little Cone. Let's get to some donations here. Let's go to a $5 donation from Justin Alfier. Appreciate it, Justin. Good morning. How is my Penn State team looking next season?
Well, you don't play Ohio State or Michigan, right?
No.
Or you play Ohio State, not Michigan.
Yes.
That's right. It's going to come down, to. I know you lost Chop. I know, you got Matt King. Looks like he's going to end up going to Alabama. The
Chop,
DB
your
there.
tackle.
But Penn State they always have cats up front. I'm not worried about Penn State up front. It's the passing game. I know you got a new OC. I like the way it looked a little bit different in the bowl game. You give them a whole offseason with Drew Aller. We're going to find out.
$5 donation from Christopher Walton. Appreciate it, Chris. Will Colorado's win total eclipse the amount of toes Deion has on his right foot?
I saw that.
He got
meme.
3.
That meme was just.
How many toes does Deion have on his right foot?
I think he has 3, right? He's missing big
Well,
toe.
I think it's the 3 middle ones.
Yeah, it's the German 3.
The German 3.
Yeah.
Schnugengrabel?
Schnugengrabel. Let's go to a $2 donation from NY Hunter. We should do an NCAA online fantasy league. Well, Hunter?
NCAA online fantasy league. Like college football fantasy league? Is that what you're saying?
Dude, I love where your head's at. All right. But when this game comes out, there's going to be too much going on.
I don't know. We'll see. Well, there's
no way I'll be able to do it. Sounds great.
An NCAA, the eSports NCAA video game fantasy league,
so you would.
Well, I'm just running the checkup with whoever I have on my fantasy. I'm just drafting my team.
Yeah. Let's go to a $5 donation from David's favorite, Humping Badger. Don't let David Cohn fool you.
Yep.
He used to leave boxes of cold pizza in his basement all the time. We shared cold slices.
Anything with you, Humping
Not what
Badger.
I heard.
Pervert.
All right. Appreciate the donations today, y'all. Let's get to the poll. Who's winning the rap beef? Drake or Kendrick?
I have no idea.
So it can be 2 options.
Kendrick.
Drake. 60%.
Yeah, I say Kendrick, he says Drake.
Kendrick, 71%.
Wow.
Drake,
what are we doing, man?
Hey, we just got a $5 donation from Jalen Brunson's burner. The Knicks are really riding the hot guy in Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, they are.
Knicks just know how to lock it.
David yesterday said something. I didn't see that clipped everywhere.
What did I say?
David was like, God, I just want to kiss those dudes or something. I don't know. Something like almost that bad. You're like, I just want to.
I just feel like if you said you were going to kiss dudes on the show.
Blaine,
no, I
you
said
recall
clip it
yesterday in the show when I said I want to kiss a bunch of dudes?
No.
It was something like, you said something like, I've been with a lot of guys.
I've been with a lot of girls, too. A lot of guys.
I was with my mom and Coach Klein.
I was with my mama and Vicky Valentine.
All right. Great show. Appreciate you guys. Shout out to our sponsors for today, BetOnline and Nugenix. Make sure you check them out. BetOnline.ag. Use promo code BOOSTER and Nugenix. Text 231-231. Use that code word, CRAIN. Make sure you go grab some merch, too. We really appreciate it. Helps out the show. Thanks for Chris Marler. Got Missouri wide receiver coach Jacob Peeler coming on the show tomorrow. Excited to talk with him. Missouri expecting some big things. Going to keep bringing you the playoff updates as well. And like the chances of you stopping Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter when he wants to do it, we're going.
I don't kiss guys.
John still caught it. Regardless of distraction.
Not again.
Regardless of distraction. Don't see there's no whiskey.